Basically, in short, it's called right action taken in right time to avoid any danger. So it is basically if there is a risk of collision, which is a dangerous situation, and if you have observed it, and if you have observed it in a manner which is and taken the action, right action in right time, that is what is the observance of good seamanship. On the other hand, you have taken the action is correct. So whatever as per the rule, you have taken the action. But that action that you have taken, see the second part of the ample time, the time was not proper. So what has happened is, when you are checking, after taking the action, when you are checking the effectiveness of the action, you find effectiveness of the action means you have to ensure that the risk of collision is not there. So while ensuring that, you find that fellow is taking action and again it has developed another risk of collision. So that is why this time matters. So all that you observe and then you take a corrective action. This is all comes under observance of good seamanship. That means your action should be such that right action in order to avoid any collision, right action taken in the right time is what is observance of good seamanship. Because right action you have taken by observing it, this thing is situation. You have been watching this thing is circumstances, the situation, and accordingly you have taken the right action, and that you have taken right time, so that in case of any misjudgment of anything further develops, you will take care of that. You have sufficient time to clear it, in a sense that there is no further risk of collision because of that action. So all that means observance of good seamanship. So according to these rules, when you are taking action, this has to be kept in mind. So the gist of the story is in this paragraph. This rule says that whenever you take any action to avoid any collision, you have to ensure that action must be positive, made in ample time, and with the due regard to the observance of good seamanship. So all these three together, keeping it in mind, the actions should be like that. That's how it should be explained. And that's how why this highlighted. Is it clear? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Second paragraph. Be positive means that the action that you have taken, and after taking the action, when you check the effectiveness of the action, means why you have taken action to avoid collision. No, so that means that risk of collision is now no more there. So that action is a positive one. But if you take such action which instead of avoiding the risk of collision, it has leading to another close quarter situation or another risk of collision. So that action cannot be considered as a positive. So you should not take such action which will further result in another close quarter situation. That means this action to avoid collision is not effective. So it is not positive. That is what it says. That's the negative. So that is why I say it should be positive. Means whatever action you take with the rule, or if you have to deviate from the rules, whatever it is, but that action should be such that the effectiveness of the action will ensure, if you check the effectiveness of the action, that that risk of collision for which the action that you have taken is not there. Okay, you have avoided. That's the positive action. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Next paragraph, any alteration of course and on speed or speed to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be large enough to be readily apparent to another vessel observing visually or by radar. A succession of small alteration of course and or speed should be avoided. First part of this paragraph is telling us regarding the action. So, if that action consists of either alteration of course and or speed, so that should be large. That means if you are altering course for avoiding a collision, so that should be large enough. Or if you are reducing speed, that should be large enough speed, not, for example, just altering 2 degrees, 5 degrees like that, small alteration should be avoided. Or reducing speed, थोड़ा RPM घटा दिया है, say suppose 2-3 RPM, 5 RPM reduce किया हुआ, because every that RPM has got this thing constraint, maintaining that speed. So it's got certain parameters to be maintained. So within that parameter, you can only cut down that much without any notice. But if you want to go cut down more, means large reduction of speed, and obviously there is a procedure. You have to give notice to the engine room and things like that. So therefore, according to the rule, it says you should avoid small alterations, should be large alteration when you're altering, or reduction of speed also should be large enough, so that the other vessel, why it should be large enough? Because when you alter course, take action to alter course, if you just alter small alteration, then what happens? It may not be apparent to that vessel, that the other vessel that you have, who is observing you on visually or by radar, that he has taken any action. So, or if you reduce the speed also. So therefore, that thing should not be done. If you want to alter, give a large alteration. Never mind. But then if you think that अभी थोड़ा 5 degree आता है, बाद में थोड़ा 5 degree, like a succession of small alteration of course and speed should be avoided. So basically, that means अभी you altering or cutting down 5 RPMs will cut down some speed. So that should be avoided. Succession of small alteration. अभी 5, फिर थोड़ा बाद में 5 डिग्री अल्टर किया, अभी थोड़ा आरपीएम घटाया, उसके बाद succession of course and our speed should be avoided, because that will make that vessel confused. So therefore, instead of avoiding action, your action will be such that it may possibly land into another close quarter situation instead of avoiding the collision. So therefore, it basically means that when you are talking about action to avoid collision, and if that action consists of alteration of course or speed, you should avoid small alteration, succession of small alteration. You should give a large alteration, so that it will be obvious to that other vessel that you have altered or you have reduced speed. But if you do small one, it will not be obvious to the other vessel. So therefore, for that, you must ensure that when you alter or reduce speed, it should be large enough, so that the other vessel can see you by radar or by visually. Got that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. See, visually or by radar इसलिए बोला है. Visually, if any small alteration of course done when the vessel is let's say from about nautical miles or say 8 to 10 nautical miles, roughly about, and you just alter 5 degrees, it will not make much of difference. That fellow visually, if you are observing, उसको लगेगा कि आपने alter किया ही नहीं. अगर लगेगा तो थोड़ा हाँ, that fellow alter course, but उसमें अगर छोटा थोड़ा सा 5 किया तो उतना दूर से उतना पता नहीं चलेगा. Similarly, if you are plotting it also by plotting also, you will see they can find out that your speed or course you have done, whatever action you've taken is very less. It will not be very obvious to that other vessels. That is why it says avoid succession of small alteration of course and speed. So, and you must give a large alteration or large reduction of speed. So that's what the second paragraph. Second paragraph understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Third one, if there is sufficient sea room, alteration of course alone may be the most effective action to avoid a close quarter situation, provided that it is made in good time, is substantial, and does not result in another close quarter situation. So now, when to alter course and when to reduce speed, because the action should consist of either alteration of course and or speed. So either course alteration, reduction of speed, or course alteration and also reduction of speed. So these actions, especially in the case of alteration of course, this should be when there is you should take this action of alteration of course when there is sufficient sea room. You have sufficient sea room, only one vessel, so no other ships. So this could be, in that situation, the most effective action is alteration of course rather than reduction of speed. Provided that once again it is made in good time. So if once again the same thing, if you think that you will be altering course or you shall alter course much later, let it come close, something like that. I mean, there's no other ship, open sea. ये सोच गलत है. Keep always that in mind. So we talk about always saying that circumstances of the case admit. So if circumstances of the case admit करता है कि नहीं करता है, who judges? It is you. So if your judgment goes wrong, that shows your observance of poor seamanship. So therefore, it should always be made in good time, is substantial. What do you mean by substantial? What is the literal meaning of substantial? Tell me. I have told you all that you must keep a dictionary along with you. What is the meaning, literal meaning of substantial?
Large in amount, sir.
What is written in the dictionary?
Large in
Considerable
amount.
or remarkable. Remarkable or considerable.
Anything else? Any other simple meaning?
Sir, large in amount.
Significant, sir.
Yes, significance, you can say that. Simply, you can say it should be what do you call solid means पक्का है एकदम proper. Or in another English you can call it essential. Means that was needed and you have taken that action. So it is made in good time and is substantial, means it was needed, it was essential or required, and does not result in another close quarter situation. Got that? ठीक है? Okay. ओही देखो, that घुमा फिरा की बात एक ही आ गई है. Substantial means it was essential. This action was essential. You have taken in good time. So that means right action taken in right time is observance of good seamanship. Got that? देखो घुमा फिरा के everywhere in a different way we are trying to say that observance of good seamanship. I hope you all can understand this.
Yes, sir.
The next paragraph, action taken to avoid collision with another vessel shall be such as to result in passing at a safe distance. This basically means the effectiveness of the action. The effectiveness of the action shall be carefully checked until the other vessel is finally passed and clear. Now, a few minutes back when we are talking about the effectiveness, action you have taken, but you are supposed to check the effectiveness of the action, meaning that the vessel is finally passed and clear. That means that risk is no more there. Or whenever there is a risk, you have determined risk of collision, so that is no more there. By taking action, you are clear of that risk. So that is the effectiveness of action that has to be carefully checked. And how you check it? When you see that vessel is finally passed and clear. When it is finally passed and clear, it means that there is no more risk of collision. So that is what the effectiveness of the action. And for that, remember that she is passing clear, but how much distance, how clear, how close the vessel pass, that's also a matter. So all this comes under the observance of good seamanship. Once again, I remind you, passing at a safe distance. आपने action लिया है उसमें से, and you have checked that finally she is passed and clear, but आपने you have to keep it in mind how close she has passed. So therefore, passing at a safe distance. So that means your action should be such that it will not only ensure that the vessel will finally pass and clear, the risk of collision will be over, but also that vessel should pass at a safe distance. Now this safe distance, how much? How much? There's nothing. What do you mean by safe distance? It is same like we talk about safe speed. So when you say safe speed, what do you mean by safe speed? Can somebody define? Tell me. All vessels, every vessel shall maintain at all time safe speed, prevailing to the circumstances and the condition. So a safe speed का क्या चीज है? What do you mean by safe speed? Similarly, safe distance. Safe. How much speed can be taken as a safe speed? How much distance can be considered as a safe distance? Can anyone tell me?
It is not defined, sir.
Sir.
It depend upon the watchkeeper according to him, like what he feels like according to the maneuverability of the vessel.
Sir,
No,
it
no,
depends
that
upon
all
the
that is
sir.
okay, depends on the watchkeepers and all this thing and all. So,
Sir,
ठीक है. But how do you define safe speed? What is safe speed? What is safe distance?
Sir, the safe distance is at which we do not possess any hazard related to the navigation, sir.
Sir, safe speed is the speed with respect to visibility in which operator can take proper and effective action to avoid any emergency or risk of collision.
Why in restricted visibility? Why not in other situations, clear weather?
I said in emergency, sir.
A vessel shall at all time maintain safe speed. उसका मतलब क्या है? In all weather, whether clear weather, restricted visibility, all the time, they should maintain a safe speed while moving. Like if you are driving a two-wheeler, or four-wheeler, you should always drive safely. Means you maintain a safe speed, keeping the safe distance from the previous from the. We say safe drive, stay safe. All this thing is used. What is the meaning actually? There is no value. How much is the safe distance or how much is the, even though in a driving lesson they tell you the how much distance you should keep clear from the vehicles before you should stop. So in the case of ship and all, whenever we say safe speed or safe distance, is basically it indicate the speed at which the vessel can be stopped at a safe distance. Again, the safe distance means what distance? Means the distance at which there won't be any, that there should not be any risk of further collision. As simple. When you are taken an action to avoid collision, you are already on the safe speed, but then your speed should be such, the action that you take, which when you do that, take that action, that should be such that you ensure that that vessel will be finally passed and clear at a safe distance. So that's basically what it means. So there is no value. It depends on certain circumstances. It maybe depends on weather, clear weather, restricted visibility. That is different. But then in general, when you talk about safe speed, safe distance, means this is the where the vessel is safe, means that risk does not exist. So that is what it is. So that means that action that you have taken, so by maintaining safe speed and safe distance, so you are taken a positive action as such, and the effectiveness of the action, and also checked when the vessel is finally passed and cleared. So as a whole, if you try to put it in whichever way you want, the same thing is this. Same, it means to one and only one thing, that action. The first paragraph of this rule says, positive made in ample time and observance of good seamanship. So all as a whole, you see, all that we are talking about is only relates to those three things. And this is what it is. Okay. Got that?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just elaborately, descriptively, I'm just talking about, just to make it very clear in your mind. बात एक ही है. There's nothing this thing is, maybe I'm repeating this thing is, but it is elaborating the fact. If necessary, next paragraph, if necessary to avoid collision or allow more time to assess the situation, a vessel shall slacken her speed or take all way off by stopping or reversing our means of propulsion. Now, basically, the action that we said consists of alteration of course and or speed. In the case of speed. Now, if you think that you need more time to assess before you take a proper action, for your action to be positive and proper, so you should need more time. And the circumstances is such that you should take more time to assess, because action has to be taken ample time, keeping that in mind. So you think, I'm not sure, especially in simple way, you are in doubt. You are in doubt. अभी समझ में नहीं आता है कि there is one ship here, one ship there. If I alter course for this ship, I have found out, I have determined the risk of collision with all these vessels around me. Now these vessels, if for them, if I have to take action, that will lead into close quarters and others. So what to do now in such a case? So you cannot decide on that at the present. So you are in doubt. So generally, what you will do in such a case, you will obviously call the master. But keeping in mind, you put yourself in the position of master. So if you, at this stage, if you do not know what to do, you have called the master and you got away with it. Master has problem solved. हो गया, चलो, हो गया. So that this is one way of avoiding your responsibility. So in that case, what happened? ठीक है. For the safety set, you have called the master because you are not sure, you're confused, you do not know, you're in doubt. Very good. But then the guidance this rule gives you is that you should take action with ample time, within time. So when you're observing the situation, the moment you start determining the risk of collision, so there also rule clearly states that you determine this or use of this radar to determine the risk of collision much before. In a sense, at the moment there may not be any traffic. Then by changing the range scale, you see in the long range scale that there might be vessel, okay, which is not visible at the time. So now what happens is, in such a case, you keep changing range scale and seeing the traffic which may not be visible at that very moment due to the condition of visibility or whatever it is. But then you are keeping it, you're vigilant, you're keeping a track. When you're keeping a track and checking all the vessels, basically risk of collision exist or not. In such a case, when you come to you should not come to a situation that you are all of a sudden you see that now there are 3, 4, 5 vessels are there. Never mind, but this is the first time. So when from you start seeing them, so that means when you have started determining the risk of collision with all these vessels. So the moment they are visible, whether visually or by radar, visually also depends on the weather condition. But in that case, radar, if you are using when the weather condition is bad, visibility is poor. So whichever it is, in any condition of visibility, whenever you determine the risk of collision, you should start determining this collision the moment you see the target on the horizon. On the horizon, or when the target is seen. As long as you don't see, you don't know. there's nothing around. But then when visibility suppose deteriorates and you have your radar on and see that there's a target there on this range, right? When it was clear, I couldn't see it. Now it is clear. So that makes you nervous. So therefore, the practice should be when you talk about the moment you see a target on the horizon, whether on the radar or visually when you're seeing it. The moment your first primary duty is to see the moment you see a target to check for that target. You keep on, if you're using radar, keep changing the range scale and find out so that you are actually tracking it. So therefore, it will help later on. This sort of confusion will not come. Now what to do? Shall I reduce speed? Shall I, this thing is alter course? If I alter course, this will happen. There are so many other vessels. So monitoring the whole situation, circumstances, you are judging when you're keeping a have already aware of the situations. You know that you need to, in such situation, you still have time, so that you need more time to assess the situation properly. So you can reduce your speed. But then this reducing speed is, though it's already meant for what you call allow more time to assess the situation. But suppose you have no time to assess the situation. If you reduce speed for the purpose of assessing the situation, whether what is she doing or that means you are unable to determine the risk of collision and the action to be taken. That is why you need more time to assess the situation. There are other vessels. So the 4 or 5 vessels. So you need time to assess the whole situation to determine the risk of collision with all other vessels. So therefore, if it is, if you feel it is safe, you can reduce your speed to, that's the safest, or take all way off by stopping or reversing her means of propulsion. Either you stop the vessel, reduce your speed, stop the vessel, or reversing, go back, means of propulsion, go astern. So these are the ways. That means you are not proceeding anymore. So you are not proceeding further, and you are trying to get some more time to assess the situation clearly. So therefore, this action of slackening her speed is the purpose of this action. Slackening speed is this: allow more time to assess the situation. In such case, you do this. Okay. Is that clear? Yes. Is it clear? Come again? If it is clear, understood, then we will take a break. We'll go for a break.
Okay.
We'll come back after the break. Or if you have any question, you can ask me. Can this be followed up to this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then take a small break. We'll come back after the break and proceed further. Or if there is any further question, we will see among all this paragraph that we have covered in Rule 8. Okay, take a break, please. The vessel. Now, if you simply go as per the literal meaning of the entire paragraph, because in some of the rules you will find you should not, in a situation when a vessel is required not to impede safe passage or safe passage of another vessel which can safely navigate. In such cases, when required by the circumstances of the case, you should take early action. Again, you see, the action taken to avoid collision should be taken in ample time. That refers this. take early action to allow sufficient sea room for the safe passage of other vessels. Suppose the circumstantial case is such that a vessel which is supposed to take action is because of her nature of work or whatever it is, she cannot take that action. So the other vessel has to take the action. So in such a case, the rule says not to impede the passage or the safe passage. So there, if that other vessel has to take the action for not impeding that, so say in a crossing situation, for simply one example. In a crossing situation, vessel which is crossing from port to starboard of another vessel is a giveaway vessel, is supposed to take action. But then the situation is such where that vessel which is supposed to crossing cannot take any action. Let's say for a deep drafted vessel. In such a case, the other vessel, which is stand-on vessel, she has to take action. Now, she will take such action which will not impede the passage or the safe passage of that vessel, so that that action should be taken. Whatever action she takes to ensure the safe passage or the passage of the vessel not to impede, she will take it in early, so that there is sufficient sea room. That means if that stand-on vessel is taking an action in a crossing situation, because the giveaway vessel cannot take action because of her nature of work or the circumstances, in such a case, the stand-on vessel will allow more sufficient sea room. He will take early action. He will take whenever he determined the risk of collision exists, and that fellow has to take action, but that fellow cannot take action, and so this fellow has to take action. He will take a much early that action, so that sufficient sea room is allowed, so that it is not going to impede the safe passage of the other vessel. So that is what you see. Basically, it means whenever you talk about any action to take and avoid collision, depending on that one basic principle that the first paragraph reminds us, thereafter you are seeing every instance, you are seeing the same thing. That action positive should be taken ample time, and also it should be observance of good seamanship. All are here in every paragraph. They are pointing out to all that three principles that has been there in the first paragraph of this rule 8. Okay. So therefore, in this case, wherever you find this action has to be taken by, let's say, for a stand-on vessel, so she should take action much before, so that there is sufficient, in the case of a vessel which cannot deviate from her course. So in such a case, there is sufficient sea room is there, so that she taken by that stand-on vessel, taken well in time, in ample time, early, not waiting for that, as I was saying, okay, thoda baad mein karega, abhi bahut dur hai, like that way. So that is what this paragraph means. So basically, all that paragraph will come one is to ensure that three the first paragraph of this rule. Remember that. So if you try and link up with those three things that has been said in the principles in the first paragraph. Okay. Now the next paragraph says the vessel required not passage or safe for another vessel, not relieved of this obligation. So, and just any one of you tell me what you can understand from this. Tell me. What happened? Anyone? The slide is open in front of you. You can read yourself. Anyone can anyone tell me rather than I'm talking about it? Let me see what you can understand from this. Is there anybody?
Yes, sir. Reading, sir.
हाँ तो बोलो. Anyone tell me now what you can understand. After I have said so much, now let someone tell me what is this paragraph means.
Sir, it is saying that the other vessel whose passage is not to be impeded is also obligated by these rules when approaching to involve a risk of collision.
That means it clearly indicates one thing, the responsibility.
Exactly.
उनका काम है, रूल तो बताया ना. I cannot take any action. This thing is, as per the rule. So let her take. She is not supposed to impede. वो बोल के you cannot be relieved, man. Because the responsibility says if there is a risk of collision, so that if both the vessel has to take, it is the responsibility of both the vessels. Now, who is supposed to take as per the rule and who is not supposed to take? The fellow who is not supposed to take does not mean he is relieved of this obligation. So, as per the responsibility is concerned, that fellow also we will take action considering or having full regard to the action which may be required by the rules of the part. He should also take action. Or otherwise, he will let the collision take place or what? I'm not. She is supposed to take. So she is not supposed to impede my passage. So she is impeding. So I'll stand and watch. No. He is also not relieved because of the responsibility. He also, it is clearly said that. So he also has to take action, having full regard to this thing. Actions is take action in such a way that yes, that fellow is not supposed to impede the safe passenger passage, but I'm having this difficulty with this. I should not even, my responsibility is not to have any collision because of this. So I will also have some responsibility to ensure that the risk of collision action to be taken. So keeping this in mind. So therefore, that means if the responsibility is indicating the responsibility of the vessel whose passage is not to be, passage of ship is not to be impeded by another vessel. So it is also the responsibility of that vessel to take action so as to avoid collision. That's it. Then the next paragraph, a vessel, the passage of which is not to be impeded, remains fully obliged to comply with the rules of the part when the two vessels are approaching one another so as to involve risk of collision. Here the same thing. The other one, the previous paragraph and this paragraph is alternately talking about both the vessels. Both the vessels' responsibility it is mentioning. Vessel whose passage is not to be impeded, the vessel who is not supposed to impede the passage of other vessels. Both these vessels it is their responsibility, their obligation to ensure to take such actions to avoid collision. Is that clear? It is both way. If the language is such, it means actually both. The vessel which is not supposed to impede, the vessel to which whose passage is not to be impeded. Both the cases, they are both the cases. They are not relieved. They have the responsibility to ensure the action to be taken to avoid collision. That means action has to be taken. Whether you are supposed to not to impede the passage as a passage, or you're because of your nature of the work or according to the rule, you are not supposed to take action. Whatever the case may be. As far as risk of collision is concerned, both have an obligation to ensure to take action to ensure that risk of collision can be avoided. Okay. So this paragraphs all ended with rule number 8.